Well, Chuck, thank you for doing this. To say that I've been a fan of programming that you have produced for decades would be an understatement. I mean, the Dana Carvey show, Behind the Music, etc. But we were connected to speak about Inventions That Changed History. What is or was the hardest part of executive producing this?
I would say it was deciding which items it was that we were going to feature and focus on. There are so many inventions, but those inventions, there are a lot of criteria that go into deciding which ones we were going to do. And the biggest one was, do they have a story behind them? They all have stories, but it was a lot about sort of like which stories are the ones with the highest highs and the lowest lows. And I think we did a good job sort of picking those ones out.
When you come up with the idea for one, but it doesn't make the cut, do you then put it on a Post-it and you go, next season?
Yes. We have a whole Google Doc, Word doc with, oh, that might be good, or this might be good. There were a lot of sort of idea cutting room floor ideas that we're ready to jump on next time.
Well, what I like about this series, few different things, not just the content, not just the visual presentation, but also the comedians that you're able to get on board to be on camera. We see Jeff Ross, Harvey Guillen, Nicole Sullivan, etc. When in the process does that casting happen?
Very beginning, and runs, part of the struggle was when we were producing this, the world was reopening post-lockdown. So all of these big names, from Josh Molina, who was doing 2 series at the time, to Matt Eisman, who was doing series, to Piff, who had to come in from Vegas, Piff the Magic Dragon, to Brian Unger.
As a person who goes to Vegas a lot, you see so many billboards or Piff all over the place.
He's everywhere, right? To Anthony Cavon, who was shooting Love Victor at the time. It was a matter of, how do we block out a window of 2 weeks or 3 weeks in Los Angeles and a week in New York and get as many people in as we can? So from the very earliest stages, we started putting feelers out to people who would be interested. And it was really, to our surprise, how many people did want to be involved. Real high-end names, people like Phil Rosenthal, who created Everyone Loves Raymond along with Ray Romano, Harvey Guillen, as you say, Yeardley Smith. I mean, the list goes on, and people just jumped at the chance to be able to reminisce about this stuff, talk about how these inventions affected their lives, and also give us a unique, if I may use that word, insight into them. Having these people eat their easy bake oven cakes that they hadn't eaten until since they were 5 or 7 years old, and remembering the taste in and of itself is worth the watch.
When you're taping those interviews with that talent, is it kind of like the MTV VH1 approach, where it's like, okay, we got you for an hour and a half, we talked about the new album. Did you ever meet Ozzy Osbourne? We have a documentary about Ozzy Osbourne coming up. Can you give us a quote? Okay. Did you watch the Video Music Awards in 2002? Okay, we got a quote. Is it kind of one of those things where you give them every invention that you can be covering?
No, we isolated the inventions to, we generally spoke to every celebrity about, on average, 7 to 8 inventions. The inventions that we thought, we would do a pre-interview with them about certain things, like Rose of Dew from Hacks, who's very funny. She in particular, she's like, oh, I love the Easy Bake Oven. Or Barrett Foa from NCIS. He wanted to do mouthwash. So when we told him, or even, Lance Reddick from The Wire, he couldn't wait to tell the story of the beach ball. Mm-hmm. So it was really about 8 inventions per celebrity, and spent about an hour plus with them pogo sticking, hula hooping, tasting foods, using items, touching things they hadn't touched since their youth, just reminiscing. So I would say we spent, on average, when we would sit down and talk to them per invention, about 5 to 7 minutes per invention, where they really went deep into how it affected them and what it was like to retouch, reuse it.
If I'm reading between the lines here, it sounds like there's some excellent B-roll and cutting room footage that could eventually be spliced into their own episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. And most of it would be interrupted by my guffawing, because my tongue was bleeding from trying not to laugh out loud from so many of these people reacting. I mean, people who literally would not open the Ouija board.
Right.
They're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not opening this. I'm not letting those spirits into my life.
So obviously you know how to interview people. What did you do on Behind the Music? Were you interviewing any of the people on camera for that?
Yeah, I did. I believe 7. I produced 7 Behind the Musics. David Cassidy, TLC, Fleetwood Mac, a handful of other ones, Mamas and the Papas. So I would sit down with the folks at the time and spend for those, we would spend about 2 full days really diving in and getting to know their life, beginning, middle, and end.
If you're saying that era, Jim Croce, was that one that you did also?
Yeah, I also did Jim Croce. It was after he had passed, but I spent, I want to say, a week with his family, his wife, his son, and I actually went to Natchitoches, which is where the plane crash happened, and it was so eerie because you literally saw the trees that he passed away in front of. It was a fascinating show. I just finished a series for PBS called In Their Own Words that I actually had an amazing experience. We did the life of Chuck Berry, and I was able to spend the day with Keith Richards, which was fascinating. Just asking him every question you ever want to ask Keith Richards.
So your ability to hang out with artists and make them comfortable, did that ever lead to you being asked to ghostwrite a memoir?
No.
Is that something you want to do eventually?
It's not something I would do, because part of having, like even with inventions, these, you start to, you create a connection with these people. And even though, I knew a handful, probably 50% of them from past experiences and having worked in the business as long as I've worked in the business, but you develop a shorthand with these people and a trust. Mm-hmm. They trust you and you trust them, and they trust that you are going to, treat them with the generosity and respect that they deserve. So memoirs are a little scary. I could certainly talk about my experiences, but would probably lead to experiences I had with them, which probably you don't want to be doing.
So to recap what we've spoken about here, you have your hand in a number of pies at any given time because you're executive producing things. Yeah. What we see coming out now might have been 3-4 projects ago, and you're into what you're doing. But how long was it into your career where you realized that you were going to be at this point where you could juggle projects and weren't just going production to production?
I would say probably about 30 years, 25 years in.
Wow.
Because it takes a long time to be able to shift. And don't discount the fact that I have great partners in these projects. It's really helpful to have people like Discovery who help support in that, and help support in the fact that they understand that you're juggling a lot of things, but they stand behind you, and so they give you that. And I have co-executive producers, Tom Foreman and Jenny Daly in this and John Byer in this particular project, who helped really pick up some of that slack. So it's not really just me. It really does take, as cliche as it sounds,
a village.
Yes. And it takes real partners to help accomplish what that is. And those partners are also, and they really are the network. And this is not some sort of, brag here, or it's just true. It's when you have networks that know and understand, you walk in with that pitch, you develop that show, they help you fine tune that show. And this show in particular, it's like, how do we make it funny? How do we make it creative? How do we break the mold of these types of shows? But how do we stay true to the DNA of why people watch Discovery? And that is not just the humor, not just the information, but the actual mechanics and the stories behind these items. And the DNA of Discovery is, wow, I didn't know that the Merlin, the game we played growing up, I think it's something like 500,000 iPhones worth of memory we're in that, and it's just fascinating. And so you start to tell people these things, then they become just superstars in their home trivia games. They're sitting around the table, they think they know everything at that point.
Makes sense to me. And quick question before I let you go.
Sure.
Speaking of books, I'm slowly writing a book about David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
Any interactions with him over the years?
No, I've met him on a couple of occasions, but only in passing. My experiences with him have always been, as I say, it was always in passing, but nothing that would make even a paragraph of a page of your book.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah. And we actually have some of his family members are friends of mine, so it was more social, but it was very quick and very nice. He was always very generous.
Well, thank you for your time. Looking forward to all the future projects, but congratulations on getting this one done and out, and the great reviews, etc.
Thank you, Darren. Yeah, the reviews are great, and I really do urge people to give it a watch, because we produced it in a way that it would be addicting. And once you watch one, you want to watch 10, and once you want to watch 10 inventions, you want to watch 50. And we really tried to keep the ball moving on it, where we could keep it entertaining, informational, comical, but stuff that when you walk away, you really are like, wow, I learned something and I laughed while doing it.
Agreed. Thank you, Chuck. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Darren. Really appreciate the time.
Paltrocast.